Better. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to the inaugural meeting of the Buller District Council, this day, the 29th of October 2025, the Clock Tower Chambers in Westport. Welcome everyone, and welcome everyone online watching remotely. I'm Simon Pickford, I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Buller District Council. Just note, we have apologies from Councillor Rosalie Sampson, who is unable to be here today. We'll be swearing in Rosalie at the next available meeting. We also have apologies from Francois Tumahai, the Chairman of Ngāti Waiwai. So I will open this meeting. I'll just give you a brief overview, probably a bit of housekeeping. If obviously we do have an earthquake, it's under the table and hold. If there is an emergency and the alarm sounds, or we have a fire, then exit through the doors you came through. Just be aware of any clutter that you may have around your chairs as well, and just be careful on your exit. So the way we will run the first part of this meeting is I will ask the Mayor to read his declaration. I will then give the chains around his neck, and then ask him to sign the declaration, which I will witness. And then once that's done, the Mayor will ask each of you to come forward in the order to take your individual oaths. After that, we will have a short break of half an hour, and there'll be time for some photos and some kai. Once we've done that, we'll reassemble and the meeting will begin again, and we'll go through the agenda. So that's how we'll play today. So we will start with the declaration of the oath for the Mayor.
I, Chris Russell, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of the Buller District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as Mayor of the Buller District by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Tony O'Keefe, Councillor O'Keefe.
I, Tony O'Keefe, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of the Buller District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Buller District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meeting Act 1987, or any other act.
Tony.
Thank you.
Mr. Dave Hawes.
Thank you. I, Dave Hawes, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of the Buller District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Buller District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act. Next question.
Okay, Councillor Linda Webb.
I, Linda Webb, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interest of the Buller District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Buller District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act.
And Ms. Shane Barry.
I, Shane Barry, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Buller District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Buller District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act.
Sure. The reading, Mr. Colin Rees.
I, Colin Reddy, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Buller District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Buller District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act dated at Westport 29 this October. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Carl.
Okay, Mr. Philip Rutherford, on his way.
Chuck my glasses over, will you? Thank you. I, Philip Rutherford, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Buller District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Buller District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act. Thanks.
And Mr. Gray, Curnow, and here he is.
I, Ray Curnow, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interest of the Buller District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Buller District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act.
Today, thanks, Philip.
I, Dave Hingston, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Buller District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Buller District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government
Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act. Okay. Mr. Paul Reynolds. Okay.
I, Paul Reynolds, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform with the best interests of the Buller District, powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Buller District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, thank you, everybody. So we'll adjourn now for what is it, half an hour? Half an hour, and we'll resume shortly. Thank you. Okay, welcome new councillors and staff and also the media, and welcome to anybody who's watching our first meeting on YouTube. We're going to start the meeting off following the agenda, and item number 1 is the appointment of the Deputy Mayor. This paper's been prepared by Simon Pickford. So I'll pass over to Simon to speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to take questions on the paper.
Any questions? Okay. With there being no questions, I'd like to move that Shane Barry be appointed Deputy Mayor. Do I have a seconder? Okay. Dave Force. All those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. Congratulations, Deputy Mayor.
Can I just say, I'd just like to take the opportunity to say thanks to my fellow councillors for their support. Thanks, Kristen. And yours.
Okay, thanks for that, Shane. We'll just go to the next item on the agenda. Where are we at? So we're looking at 1.3, the statutory responsibilities of members. Okay, again, Simon Pickford has presented that. So, Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to take questions. I mean, essentially, this isn't meant to be a comprehensive list of the statutes that members need to be aware of. There's obviously a lot more, but these are the key ones that through the LGA that are kind of identified as the things that you really need to be aware of. So what I've tried to do in this report is give you a brief overview of each of those, and happy to answer any questions you may have. But if there are some really in-depth things around legal perspectives, I may need to get some further advice and come back to you. But yes, happy to take any questions on the report.
Okay, so I'll open that up for questions. No questions? Okay, thank you. We'll accept that. Sorry, I'm getting the hang of it. Okay, so the draft recommendation that the statutory responsibilities of members from Simon Pickford, Chief Executive Officer, dated 29th of October 2025, be received. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Councillor O'Keefe. All those in favour? Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, the next item, item 1.4, is adoption of the elected members' Code of Conduct, 2025 to 2028. We have the paper, so open that for discussion. Oh, sure.
Through the chair. So you'll be familiar with the Code of Conduct. This, as we say in the paper, a standardised code of conduct is being developed by central government. They've indicated that as part of their reforms. So this will be something that Standards New Zealand, they've already put in draft. And I did send that link out to elected members during the week. So you got to see what that will look like. So what we're proposing here is a standardised code of conduct given, the existing code of conduct that we used last year, but acknowledging that early next year, next calendar year, the government may mandate a code of conduct that we all have to follow, all councils. So that's what the government has indicated, and there's they seem to be following through on their forms. And there's nothing to indicate that they won't do that. But happy to take any questions on the report, and Ms. Trigg will also chip in as required.
Are there any questions? No questions? Okay. I'll read the draft recommendation then, that council adopt the code of conduct for elected members 2025 to 2028. Noting this version will be superseded by a mandatory standardised code of conduct expected from central government in early 2026. Okay, do I have somebody move? Dave Force, and seconded by Councillor Pinkston. All those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of standing orders, 2025 to 2028. Simon?
Through the chair, Mr. Mayor. So again, this is another piece of work which the government has indicated that they will provide a standard template for all councils. We've said here, it should be noted that under the previous standing orders, council did not vest the casting vote of the chair. In the draft that we've seen from Standards New Zealand, that will be an option for councils to consider under the new standing orders template. What we're proposing here is to introduce or keep the casting vote for the mayor, the chairperson, or you might want to have it for statutory decisions only, or choose not to have it at all. Is there anything else, Chrissy, you want to add at this point? Happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Councillor Webb.
It says in here that this change resulted in several incidents where votes were tied. How many incidents specifically were there that there was a procedural delay?
3 from memory. I know one was, yeah, we can check. Yeah, in the order 2 to 3.
Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I'm still warming up on my. Can I be heard? Okay. Okay. No, I take what Linda's saying regarding the issues, and in terms of not having a casting vote. Now, 1512. When we look at agenda item 1.512, this change resulted in several instances where votes were tied, leading to procedural delays and uncertainty in decision making. That, I'm afraid to say, only gives half the story. The situation in terms of the casting vote, it was agreed at the last during the last term, it wasn't required. 1 vote, 1 person. The reason being is that there is traditionally, if it's tied, it doesn't happen very often. It's only when we've had someone absent. So we've had 10 people on board and we've been tied 5-all. A couple of times we had to, the top of the table had to refer to standing orders, and we ended up either 1, rewording the recommendation, or 2, we then asked staff to come back and with some more information. That never, ever disrupted procedure. Now, I seem to recall one where the talking here in paragraph 15 about the long-term plan and things like that. If there's a draw, if it's split 5-all, and remember, in course, it's only when we've got an absentee, and I'm talking about an apology, not on the screen. So the number of times that we have had situations where it's been tied has been, if anything, more effective, I believe, around the table, because we've been able to either reword, as I said before, or gather more information. And in fact, there's a paper still to come to the table, which was left over from the last term because it was a tied vote. Now, I'm definitely against, as I say, a casting vote for that reason, people vote accordingly on behalf of the community. Everybody who voted for us, Mr. Mayor, voted for us with one vote, apparently, unless of course they've got multiple properties. But one person voted for me, one person voted for you. They didn't ask you to have 2 votes around the table. So that's how I stand on that one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Reedy. We've sort of slipped away from questions there into a little bit of discussion.
My apologies.
That's okay. I'm learning. Okay, are there any other questions? Councillor Pinkston.
I just want to make sure, is this thing working?
Yeah, you're on.
Right, yeah, just looking at the mandatory nature of the standing, to confirm that in accordance with the briefing, that these are going to be an interim set of standing orders until such time as we get those mandated sometime next year. And in the interim, there's some things that we need to have clarity on, and that is referred to in the committees, the part where we have committees going forward, and how those committees might be run. My understanding is that the Risk and Audit Committee has a number of mandatory things according to the standing rules of where it should be run. I think we should look at suspending those until such time as we've decided on the governance structure for the council. I don't think we've yet confirmed the governance structure from yourself, Mr. Mayor.
Not as yet, but I think we cover that, Simon, shortly as far as RAG is concerned.
Yeah.
So
I just have a concern that, you know, I'll be held to account on the mandatory nature of the standing orders with the way those subcommittees are run. And I'd rather have an option to suspend some of those mandatory things until we've got a set of standing orders that recognise your proposed new governance structure of the committees. So that's all. Now, it may be that there's enough flexibility in the standing orders that we can actually go forward with them. I just want to note that as a concern going forward.
That's noting something. Do you have any comments?
Through the chair, I'm just trying to think of an example of something you would suspend. I think these are flexible enough for it to because these are the standing orders that we used with the previous triennium, and as you'll see later in the agenda, the proposal is to, until we have a finalised committee structure, that we just carry over the previous structure, and council will work with that. These standing orders were perfectly fit for purpose for that structure. And so that's something we could look at as part of when we come to the new structure, but I suspect these are flexible enough to encompass what we need, would be my advice.
Sure, thanks.
Councillor Bear.
Just a question from previous councillors, like there is a provision in there for a casting vote, and there is a reason there's a provision for a casting vote. Yes, my understanding is I hear what you're saying, Colin, one person, one vote, but to allow for decisions to be made, there is a provision for a casting vote. What, besides one person, one vote, were there any issues with casting votes? Any concerns, I guess?
Councillor Webb.
Well, that was the main concern, that the principle of our democracy is one person, one vote. And for me, the concern is if the vote is that tied, that then we probably need some more information to either, or a revision of the motion to actually make a decision, because if it's that tied, that you want a majority, you need a majority to win a motion. So I think if it's that, like Colin said, actually there's nothing wrong going back to the staff and getting some more information. I don't see where in the triennium that actually cost us legally, or it says in there that there were incidents, procedural delays, but what does that mean? That we just had to wait another meeting to make a decision? But did it cost us financially, or what was the repercussion of that?
Conscious we're in the middle of questions and discussion, but from our perspective, I suppose it does highlight that risk. In terms of best practice, it would be normal for a committee to have a casting vote. In those situations where you are, particularly in a legislative or a statutory situation where you need a decision there and then. So adoption of the long-term plan would be an example where we had our meeting, local water done well, where you had the meeting basically a few days before a deadline. And if you don't adopt, that puts the council in a position of not being able to strike rates, in the example of an LTP or an annual plan. In the local water done well, if it would be deadlocked in that situation, and because of the availability of members as well, that could happen. And so look, it's for the table to decide what you feel comfortable collectively with. Our recommendation is that you do consider amendment to allow for a casting vote, because it can, in those circumstances around statutory, that gives you more comfort. That's another way of doing it. But we can certainly come back to you with some examples of those things. Just one. So there you go, proceed.
Thank you. I believe that there was a gambling application that was delayed, although I'm not able to speak to the application specifically. But I believe that one, and there may have been one other in the last training. I'm just on the fly trying to catch them up now.
Yeah. Okay. Anything more? Councillor Rutherford.
Thank you, Samir. Look, a question and an observation. Question first. Am I correct in my understanding and along at the same time as central government will issue a standardised code of conduct, that there will also be standardised standing orders? Will that happen at the same time?
Unlikely to be the same time. I understand it will be later in 26. We don't know yet when, but in that cabinet paper I think I circulated to you, they indicated very strongly that they saw the way forward for local government to have a mandated set of standard with little variations in there, particularly around them. In other words, I think standing orders allowed you casting vote and public forum, because then those two areas are the only things you can really play with and have your own feel. But essentially everything else is set. And that's just the way the government see in terms of efficiency and effectiveness to make it consistent.
Okay, so my next is an observation, and I watched the meeting, the last training, when the casting vote was taken out. To the best of my knowledge, that would be the first triennium ever that did away with that casting vote, which raises the interesting question to me: what was the big issue? I personally favour standing orders that includes a casting vote for the chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, if there's nothing else, sorry, Councillor Keith.
Right, I'd like to test the waters then. So move a motion of removal of the casting vote, 19.3. Second that.
Okay.
Clarification. So this would be an amendment to the motion that the council adopted. Have we moved into that discussion?
Yes. Yeah, if you guys can sort of help me out here a little bit in terms of process.
So it's been moved and seconded, then you open it for discussion. So it's now open for discussion.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I'll open it for discussion. Councillor Horse.
Yeah, I hear what people are saying. You know, personally, my view is that if we get to a point where we're that divided, then there is an issue that is needing to be resolved. And to work as a team effectively, I think, means that we all need to have faith that we can reach an impasse, and that may take time or may take a different pathway to get us back on track together. And I'm really, I believe that in good faith that it would not hurt to remove the casting vote in the interim, in bearing in mind that we're heading towards a mandatory reassessment. So I mean, in another short few months, we're going to be back at this point again, having the same discussion. And so I see no reason for not proceeding through our first part of this term as a team building exercise to develop some trust in each other and see how we can get along and get this done for the community. Because I do not see us helping this community if we're divided down the middle. So I really want to see us work as a group together. And I'd like to, I'll be voting for the motion on that regard.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Reynolds.
I don't think it's sort of to remove the cast. I forgot the first time, maybe it'll be the last time. I see a casting vote being a normal process in democratic meetings, long established custom. I think there's more to be lost by having an impasse where you're bound, tied, and it's better to bring an issue to an end and move on. So I'm against removing the casting vote and believe we should have a casting vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm with Paul. I think it makes for rational decision making for the chair to have a casting vote. Almost every other organisation I've ever been involved in has that as a provision within standing orders. We can get ourselves into some very awkward situations without it. And of course, custom and practice is that when the chair of a meeting exercises a casting vote, they exercise that casting vote in favour of the status quo. And the mayor, we need to have faith in the office of the mayor or whichever chair of any committee that we're in. If we go down this pathway again, we are somewhat of an outlier, it seems to me, and I'm not convinced that there is a strong case for us to be that outlier.
Thank you.
Yeah, I understand Ray's perspective. Mine is a point of clarification is that we're going to be told what to do this time next year-ish. Is that correct, CEO?
They haven't given us a set date. They have indicated, government has indicated that this will come later in 26. I think that's as definite as they've been. So it will be at some point next year, calendar year.
Yeah, and it's likely to include in the updated mandatory SOPs that we're going to have a casting vote system. Is that correct?
I suspect it will be one of those options that council will again be able to choose. Then you'll be in the same situation as you are now, but obviously you'll be further down the track in terms of you as a team working together. But I suspect that will be something that could be up for. And within the model they put up for debate, is that for consultation? What's that currently?
Thank you. Just through the chair, I believe the code of conduct has already been out for consultation and the submissions is closed. And standing orders, I believe, is open for another week or two before closure. So they'll take that feedback, they'll consider it, and then they'll come out early next year. They've said with code of conduct it will be the first part of 2026, but they haven't been any firmer. Will just be a few months after that, I imagine.
Great. With that in mind, I would put my faith status quo then, that we continue on as we did for the last triennial, and then if it doesn't work for us, then we review it and we review the standing orders. I see no urgent necessity to review this, to give the casting a vote. Not that I'm against it, it's just I don't see the point in changing it. I don't anticipate any split councils, and if we did have a split council, then clearly we all have the responsibility, especially if it's mandated issues, to go back and relitigate the thing and sort it out ourselves. So I'd be in favour of the status quo remaining, but I stood on the fence a little bit on this one and be persuaded otherwise.
Councillor Webb.
I just wanted to kind of pick up a point that Ray said, Councillor Kuno said about in other committees, and that then the mayor or the chairperson use their casting vote to actually go with the status quo, but nowhere in the standing orders is that mandated. So then you're relying on that chairperson to do that. So I think, like I said, I was strongly against having a casting vote at the beginning of the last triennium. I believe that there was no procedural delay or such that cost the council in any way, shape and form. And like I have reiterated too, that if we're in such a deadlock, that then I think we need more time, more information from staff to actually make a really good decision, because I don't think that should just be somebody getting another vote. So I think, yeah, if we're going to make some good decisions in that if we clearly wouldn't have, we have been in situations where we have asked for more time, more information, gone back and then made a good decision. So yeah, I'm in favour of removing the casting vote.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so do we move to the motion that's on the floor? Is that the process, Tony?
The mover gets a right of
Okay.
reply before reading the resolution.
Okay.
I still stand by one person, one vote, and agree with everything just Linda said.
Okay, thank you. So we move to the motion now.
Sorry, can I just have some clarity? Are we, because isn't this an amendment to this is an amendment to the motion? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be an amendment. It's an amendment, so the amendment would read the removal of standing order 19.3, which is the casting vote, was moved by councillor O'Keefe and seconded by councillor Webb.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favour? Those against? Okay. That's carried. Yes. Sure. Thank you.
So I'd like to move amendment to 9.8, standard orders, to change to delete the words at least 2 working days and replace them with the words at least 5 days. Is that amendment? Nine point eight.
9.8.
Well,
Okay, thank you. So we'll open that for discussion. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll get the hang of it, guys. 30.
Right, so this is really just in the interest of better communication, transparency. At least 2 working days doesn't seem like very much to me. If we have our meetings on Wednesday.
Excuse me, councillor. Could you turn your microphone?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you mostly heard me anyway. If we have our meetings on a Wednesday, it would mean that the documents were available for public perusal on the preceding Friday. And I think that taking out reference to working days just removes a complication when we have, like we have this week, we have a statutory holiday on the Monday, and you have to count back. If we just refer to working days, I think it makes life a little bit easier. It means that for a Wednesday meeting, the documents are available before the weekend, and I think that's it just makes life easier for members of the public.
Okay, thank you. Staff, do you have any comment?
So, through the chair, it's a double-edged sword, and I understand why this would be appealing. For us, it does create issues in terms of workflow and workload. The other thing that members need to be aware of is that with the timeframe as open as that, with our previous agendas, we've noted that reports do change right down to the wire. So when the reports are currently published on that Friday, you can be assured that they are as full and correct as of that date. If we now are looking at the previous week, then it does mean that information quite often will have changed. I don't know what percentage wise, but we have noticed we do. When I'm approving that agenda on the Thursday and the Thursday night, into Friday morning, it does quite often change, particularly with those contentious ones. So I would just raise a concern from the staff's point of view. While in terms of openness and transparency, we totally get that, but it does put staff under more pressure, and it does mean that the likelihood of further information coming to you, and it would be more ad hoc as opposed to a full and comprehensive report, wouldn't be as forthcoming. The other challenge with that, of course, is drawing on my previous experience at other councils, going down that earlier route. While it does allow the public to access the information earlier, it does create a whole lot of dialogue in the media and on social media, and that's perfectly okay. But it does mean that will all happen before councillors get to, a fair amount of time before councillors actually get to discuss. And this table may be comfortable with that, but I'm just putting it out there to think that through in terms of how that might play out. Because my previous experience, I know some of my previous councillors have raised that as a concern. But again, it's something that this body will have to weigh up. So I'm just, in terms of any further comment, Christine, anything I've missed?
Thank you, through the chair, just that there is, as the deadlines for staff reports at the moment, sometimes through committees or council meetings, sometimes when reports are requested, we put that into the work plan as is. It can be quite difficult to get the reports out with the required information for deadline. So pushing the deadlines further forward for us just means that we might not be able to get those quality reports to you as we would like them. It just puts more pressure on the staff and the workloads as is. The standing orders that we've got at the moment is the recommendation from LGNZ, and it is the standard set of standing orders that most councils do work to, and there is a reason that the 2 working days is there. But I do understand, and I agree with transparency. There was previous feedback from the previous council that they wanted the agenda published on the Friday, which is almost 3 days before anyone else. So it was in line with when councillors received it. So we could, in line with standing orders, just post it to the website on the Monday morning. We don't do that. We do post it on the Friday afternoon as soon as it's ready. So our public do have access to that from the Friday, and they can read it all over the weekend. So as I said, I just caution against the 5, just with staff and workloads.
Councillor Reedy.
Samir, as far as working days are concerned, it's a defined term in the Local Government Act. It's a defined term in terms of access for the public to clear working days for the public agenda. We're talking public at the moment. Now, 2 clear working days, there's at one stage for management to not have the agenda for the public agenda on a Friday. They felt, no, 2 days is a Monday. BDC open there at 8:30 in the morning. 2 clear working days means exactly that. 2 clear working days, Monday and Tuesday. The earliest you can put it up, the latest you can put it up in that case, is a Friday, in my view. Now we come to elected representatives, and we receive ours previously on Diligent, now on Docs on Tap on a Friday. It's also posted on a Friday afternoon in the public arena, and it is the one that I refer to. I'm able to sit back and just read what I need to read when I want to read it. Now, I appreciate the weekend is not a working day per the legislation, but if I elect to read the agenda over the weekend, that's my choice. So as far as having any number of days, I'm going to stand up for the staff in this regard. Agenda items at the moment have to be in, my understanding, by the Tuesday, so that staff are able to, of the week, before the council meeting, give some time to do everything. They go back to the staff who's generated they collate everything. I've been told by different people, not just within BDC, that they do require that time to ensure that the agendas are posted on time and are as correct as possible. So to bring it in any earlier, I believe is foolhardy. We've got the Friday afternoon, they are posted. Now, if it's a stat holiday on the Monday, they were correctly posted on the Thursday night. Thank you, Caitlin. So we had 2 clear working days, being the Friday and the Tuesday. And they were also posted on the BDC website. So as far as changing that or amending that, I'm dead against it. It is basically driven by legislation, and we should leave that until such time that the government come out with their mandatory standing orders.
Thank you, councillor. Anybody else? Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So I did second the motion and to enable discussion. So for absolute clarity, now taking on board what Councillor Reedy has indicated in regard to clear working days, is it the case that the agenda is always made publicly available, given that let's take the example where there is no statutory holiday on a Monday, is it always made available by close of business on a Friday night? Yes or no?
Yes.
It is. Okay, thank you.
Councillor
Yeah,
Hampton.
so in that regard, I support what Councillor Collins has put forward, and I also support and note that if you want quality documents, you've got to give the staff time to prepare them. And I favour quality of documents over early delivery of agenda items anytime. So I would be against Ray's amendment.
Thank you.
Well, in light of this discussion, I had to withdraw my amendment because it seems superfluous. My amendment was in the course of the documents being available on Friday afternoon. Sorry. Councillor Reedy assures us that that is the case anyway. And in cases of statutory holiday, the documents are now would be required to be available on Thursday, which I consider puts undue pressure on staff. But if that's the status quo and other people see it that way, I'm happy to withdraw my amendment.
Thank you.
As seconder, I agree.
Yeah. Councillor Curnow, I think you mentioned you might have another amendment you wanted.
Well, I think 9.10 was you know, they're a package, so I'm not going to move that. And the only other one I've got is 15.2. This is relating to public forum. And it reads, in cases where the chairperson declines a request to speak, the name of the speaker declined and the reason or reasons for the decision to decline the speaking request will be recorded in the agenda for the meeting concerned. There would be consequential renumbering if that was adopted.
Okay. Thank you. We'll open that for discussion.
Seconded?
Oh, sorry, seconder.
Sorry.
You're not second. No. Okay. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
Okay. So for the information of councillors, this has already been discussed by the previous council. It related to a particular situation which occurred, and I presented this to the previous council as a proposal, and I believe at that time that it actually had support from the previous council. It is a means of providing for transparency and accountability. Of course, we would always hope that if someone followed the correct procedures, made a request to speak at public forum, that there would have to be a very, very good reason for that request to be declined. But on occasions when it is declined, for whatever reason, the name of the person making the request and the reasons for that request being declined, I'm proposing should be recorded in the agenda for the meeting so that members of the council are aware that the chairperson has made that decision and that members of the public can see that that decision has been made.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Simon.
So through the chair. So the challenge with putting it in the agenda, because we accept public forums 24 hours before the meeting, it couldn't go into the agenda because the agenda would obviously be published that previous Friday. So it would have to be in the minutes if you were going to do that, just to tweak your resolution.
Just a point of clarification. This is based on the assumption that people requesting the opportunity to speak in public forum actually follow the procedures, which are that they put their request in the previous week. I know that there are ad hoc situations where late requests have been received, but I'm making this suggestion on the assumption that someone has followed the recommended procedures.
Councillor Reddy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As far as I'm concerned, it's not up to us as a council to add to the standing orders. As far as I'm aware, these are not bound by legislation, but they are adopted by just about every council. As Mr. Pickford has previously mentioned, we have the option to have a casting vote or no casting vote. And the other line in there, of course, at the moment is because they've repeated the same standing order. So as far as adding, I believe we can't just sit here and add, as far as I'm aware, and I'd like to, if we want to pursue this, we should get some advice on that. Also, at the time now, we're talking about central government bringing out a mandatory standing order where there may be an option to have two changes around the table. So this isn't one of them. Now, as far as recording the minutes, who has or has not been denied, perhaps that can happen, speaking rights, that could happen and should be recorded in the following minutes, not the minutes pre-meeting, but the minutes, not the agenda item, but the minutes following the meeting where a person has been denied. Now, I support Ray in this because there was at the time a misunderstanding of the requirements for the discussion by the chair. And at the time, I was ignored, but the person in the public forum had every right to speak. So, and it's something to do with terms of reference and stuff like that. Won't go into detail there, but it's coming back to this. We should not be changing any numbering or adding anything to the standing orders until such time that we receive the mandatory. And even then, I doubt very much if that recommendation is going to be included.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Webb.
Just a question. So in terms of taking the principles of this amendment, is there any way that we can vote on adding that to the procedure of the minutes taking, a bit like when we talked about during meetings when we had questions that were unanswered by staff, we like last training agreed that we would, record those in the minutes. So then therefore when reviewing the minutes for the next meeting, you could follow up whether those questions were answered. Does there need to be an amendment to the standing orders, or is this something that we can procedurally add?
But through the chair, yes, you could add it into your standing order, but it would not be under standing order 15.2. It would be under standing order 28.2, which is matters reported in minutes.
Okay.
Yep.
So we could
28.2 matters reported in minutes, which dictates what must be reported in the minutes.
Councillor Kern. No. Okay, well, just call me Mr. Mayor.
think I've made my point. As a councillor, as a member of the public who's declined a request to speak at public forum, I expect to know about it. I don't really know, I don't really care what the procedural process that happen, but I do expect that it will only happen in very rare occasions. I expect that it will happen only in very rare occasions, if ever. But if it does, I expect to know about it. Don't really care what the process is by which I get that information, but I think we all need to know if a member of the public is being refused speaking rights. On that basis, I'm happy to withdraw my amendment.
Thank you, councillor. Okay. Is that Ray? Do you have anything else, councillor Kerner? Is that the last amendment you were proposing?
Sorry, repeat yourself, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, is that the last thing you had to
Yes,
propose?
yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we come back to the motion. No others? Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay, so okay. Okay, so based on that, what I'd like to put to the table is number 2, that council adopt the standing orders 2025 to 2028 with the following amendments. Okay. Thank you, Doug. Okay. All those in favour? Against? Okay, passed. That motion is passed. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the appointment to the Inangahua Community Board. Sorry, councillor Reedy.
Mr. Mayor, I noticed Phil voted against when he was seated around 2 terms ago. Names of those who voted against were automatically recorded. Now we have to ask for names recorded. So it's up to, and I quite often have to say, name recorded, please. So it's up to Phil, who's voted against, whether or not he wants his name recorded. And this will be the same going forward through the term.
Thank you.
So what is the current understanding of what way this is recorded? If my name's automatically recorded as against, then I will not request it. If it's not, then I do.
Okay, we'll ask Caitlin to brief us on that.
Yep, so as per the standing orders, a member may request to have their name recorded. It's not automatically recorded in the minutes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so the appointment to the Inangahua Community Board, the draft recommendations are that council make appointments to the Inangahua Community Board, and the second one, that council appoint the following to the Inangahua Community Board, being councillor Dave Fords and councillor Linda Webb. We open that for discussion. Councillor Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Previously, elected members to the ICB were inducted at the same time that all of us elected members were gave our oath. I don't know why the ICB members who have been elected were not sworn in during this meeting here. So that what's the story there, please?
Okay, well, through the chair, this was due to the availability of those Inangahua, or 2 or 3 of the community board members just weren't available to be sworn in today. So that will be done at the first Inangahua community board meeting. It was just availability; they weren't available to be sworn in today, so we did it together.
Councillor Reid.
I believe that should be recorded. We've done the oath and what have you for the elected members, but it should be recorded that the ICB members were not sworn in at this particular point in time for whatever reason, and that they will be sworn in at such and such a time. That's very important. We've this seemed, I'm afraid this may have slipped through the cracks, but maybe it hasn't, but we want transparency, please.
Yes.
Thank you, through the chair. So there was a few members that couldn't make it through today, and it's also nice to be able to hold it in Inangahua for their friends and family to be able to watch the swearing in ceremony. So that worked better for them. And during the meeting today, we did note, I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong, that ICB members wouldn't be able to be here, but we can record it in the minutes that their swearing in will be at the first Inangahua Community Board meeting next month.
Councillor Reddy.
Sorry, I'm going on a bit, but that infers then that you, Mr. Mayor, have to be at that meeting to swear them in. That's fair, clearly understood?
Yes. Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hawes.
I'd just like to say that new to me, this one, having a microphone. I just wanted to appreciate what Councillor Reedy said, and that Inangahua Community Board's an important part of council. It's a part of the governance group structure of council committee, and it's kind of a good point in time for the councillors, and particularly new ones around the council, to get to meet those people. And I would like to think that we will have a point in time where that'll happen, and so that they are incorporated into the whole council body. So,
thank you, Councillor Hawes. Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move recommendations 1 and 2.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Curnow. All those in favour? All those against? That's passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the appointment of Pecuniary Interest Register. The draft recommendation being the council receives the report entitled Appointment of Pecuniary Interest Register, and approves and appoints the chief executive as a register for elected members' pecuniary interests in accordance with section 54G1 of the Local Government Act 2002. Councillor Reedy.
I'd like to move 1 and 2, please, Mr. Mayor.
We have a seconder. Councillor Barry. All those in favour? Those against? That's passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Our next item is the establishment of committee council. I think where have we got? Just give me a minute. Okay, the draft recommendations, unless I have to read that out, we'll take those as being read. Sorry. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, so I'll pass it over to Simon now to make some comments.
So through the chair, so you'll see that the recommendations of us, as I said before, until the mayor's finalised proposal for the new committee structure, what we're suggesting here is that the Council on Risk and Audit Committee and Reserve Board Subcommittee and Inaugural Hector Reserve Subcommittee and the Community Board, that continues on from the last training. We're also pointing out in the resolution here that we do need to appoint an interim chair of the Risk and Audit Committee. We do have applications that have been received, and we do need to process that. So what we're asking here is to appoint the mayor, the deputy mayor, plus one other councillor on the panel to do that interview to select the independent chair. The other thing within the paper that you'll see, and I know this has provoked some discussion, what we're suggesting is around some start times for somewhere, isn't it, around start times for councillors out on the, am I jumping ahead to the, oh, I think I am, sorry. Oh, that one. That's the next paper, but I'm ahead of myself. So that's what we're proposing at this stage. So the idea is to bring a committee structure to the November council meeting for discussion, because that will allow time for the mayor to have put a proposal forward, put up some terms of reference, in draft and then for discussion around this table.
Okay, councillor Kerno.
So, yeah, I understand, thank you. I will eventually, got 3 years to get this right. So I understand, Mr. Mayor, that you have you have some ideas. You're in the process of forming around committee structure, and that they will be presented to the November meeting. If that's the case, would I be wrong in assuming that this set of recommendations will lie on the table until that November meeting? What's the way forward here procedurally is my question.
Through the chair, so it is recommended that you have a risk and audit committee set up. That committee is what all the subcommittees, so the 11 reserve and halls and the creative community subcommittee reports to. So it is best practice to have an independent chair to the risk and audit committee. So right now we're just appointing that committee by council to get set up so we can have that included in the next couple of months meeting. You call it an interim structure if you like, while the mayor takes time to sit down with you and understands interests and how you'd like that committee structure to be set up. If there are any new committees that are to be set up different to how we had it in the last training or previous to that, we'll just take a little bit of time to update any terms of references, such as, for example, if there was a community committee set up where the committee had grants, it may have a different membership. There may be different things that you want to amend the terms of reference to. So staff just need time to be able to update terms of reference with some direction from yourselves at the table. And then we can put that forward for the November council meeting to be adopted and adopt the terms of reference at the same time.
Okay, councillor Webb.
I just had a question about the draft recommendation, and why does it read like number 2 Inaugural Hector Reserve Committee, and then the Inangahua Community Board like sits under that as A? Is that a mistake, or is that because that kind of reads that the Inangahua Community Board?
Through the chair, I had the same question. It's just a formatting error, so ever so sorry about that.
Okay, because yeah, it just looks like that they sit under the Inaugural Hector Reserve.
Oh, and you got your hand up. Oh, councillor Reddy.
Mr. Mayor, I hear what Ray's saying. I mean, here we are coming back in November, but we're making decisions now. And so I'm a little bit lost with some of the recommendations here. But one thing I am definitely very, very concerned about is this council, the previous term, going against what the Auditor General recommended in terms of a RAC committee v. a finance committee. Now, I can look all around the country and they all follow what the AG has said, and that is that the RAC committee is reports or meets every quarter. Okay, now for whatever reason, it was decided, not me, mind you, but it was decided that we would have a RAC committee and it would incorporate everything that, you know, all and sundry basically. And then it was decided that, oh, hang on, workload and all that sort of stuff, work-life balance, oh, we'll meet every 2 months. Well, here we've got, and so of course, because some of the finance agendas used to come out every second month anyway, depending upon what they were, that meant another 3 or 4 months before we got to see them. Now, we're responsible ultimately for the finances of this organisation. We don't want to see, they're not to be confused with risk and audit. Now, risk is quite specific before my time, of course, and I've admitted that, but as far as I'm concerned, there is very little emphasis placed on risk by BDC. And in terms of audit, you've seen a small trail of emails that have been going on. Those are specific to risk and audit. We then look at the finances, where we then talking about debt management accounts each month and so on and so forth. We want those each month. how can we manage or oversee the finances of this organisation when we only get them every 3 or 4 months? It doesn't work. So therefore, we're looking at we're talking about employing a independent chair. All, as far as I'm aware, all councils now have an independent chair. And if you don't have an independent chair, you'll be, the Auditor General will point that out, that we have, all the district council have decided not to, for whatever reason. So independent chair meets, is required for quarterly meetings, not every finance meeting. They are not responsible for that, Mr. Mayor. We are. All we're talking about here is risk and audit. I sent out a paper from just for information that what the Auditor General has recommended and the timetable every quarter, and it's specific to, as I said before, risk and audit. And I believe that's the way it should be.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Berry.
So Councillor Reid, I just need some clarification of what you're actually recommending here is, because from what I can see of the Risk and Audit Committee, there is a whole lot more on it than you, and it is quite cumbersome. So is that what you're saying? Is that some of the stuff on the Risk and Audit should not be on Risk and Audit?
Councillor Registrar.
What I'm saying is that, so we've got about 4 or 5, if you can just turn this off, please. Yeah. Right. What I'm saying in terms, the terms of reference for the risk and audit as adopted in the last term is more than what the Auditor General has recommended. Okay, and I've sent that, as I said, I've sent that piece of paper out, or so the document out. And then, of course, when we decided to do away with the CES committee, it got added to rank. So what the hell, you know, and this is every 2 months. So it's got to be quite specific. If we don't want to follow what the Auditor General is recommending, because he can't tell us, but he is recommending and strongly recommending, then we should turn around and say, well, sorry, Auditor General, we're not going to follow you. We're going to have everything combined into the risk and audit.
Okay.
So we need 2, or what I'm suggesting, Shane, is that we need 2, or just like every other council, we need a finance committee and we need a risk and audit committee, totally separate.
Thank you, Councillor Reddy. Simon. Okay, thanks, Councillor Reddy. There's some good points there, and we've covered that off. I've spoken to Simon and to Chrissy about the topics that you have raised, and that's something that we'll be coming back to. In the meantime, we would like to proceed, you know, in terms of what's been recommended here, and come back to that November meeting with what we propose. Councillor O'Keefe.
Well then, shall we put somewhere in the recommendation under 1 or 10, saying that we will be revisiting this, or some sort of addition to the resolution?
Through the chair, you could certainly add a noting, something to that effect for council. Yeah, and that would be perfectly okay. We can draft something up, just noting that this decision will be revisited at the November council meeting.
Okay, Councillor Hampson.
So being one of the new seats here, if I could just do a working man summary of the Risk and Audit Committee and what it's turned into. The previous council, as I understand it, used the Risk and Audit Committee to deal with a whole lot of issues that it shouldn't normally have dealt with. And then it became a regular meeting, I thought monthly, but maybe 2 weekly, that was basically a pseudo council meeting. And its agenda was so wide and diverse that it couldn't actually function properly. It was burdened down with too many agenda points and too many issues that it shouldn't have been burdened down. So I just need to get a bit of clarification, firstly, if that's an accurate enough summary. And secondly, is get an indication of your intent going forward. Is it to unburden the Risk and Audit Committee so it functions properly in the future? And we're looking at having financial subcommittee and other diverse subcommittees or committees that are going to take a lot of these agenda items away from the Risk and Audit Committee and just leave them with what they're supposed to be doing. Is that the intent?
That's the intent.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor O'Keefe.
Has this been moved or? I'd like to move the draft recommendation 1 through to 10, 10 being the addition that we've just discussed with that we're going to revisit. We're going to revisit her committee in terms of reference in November the 10th. Is that?
I think on agenda number 4, the intention there is to nominate somebody as an interim chair of that committee, and also to nominate a councillor to be a member of that interview team. Okay, so
Okay, I understand. We can. Okay, I'll retract that.
okay. I'd like to move on that basis that we tackle items 1 and 2 first, and then come to item 4. Okay, so do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Reynolds. Okay, anybody else? All those in favour? Oh, sorry, Councillor Reddy.
So I just want clarification here that we are going to adopt the TOR for the Risk and Audit Committee for the next triennium. Is that correct?
That's subject to the point that Councillor O'Keefe raised, and the note that will accompany the minutes, is my understanding, Simon. Yes.
The recommendation.
Yeah.
Noting that this will be revisited at the November council meeting.
Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, I just, regardless of the outcome of this today, I want to signal very clearly that as an elected member of council, I expect regular, accurate and timely financial information to come to this table no less than a month, on a monthly basis. So when you're going through your consideration for what future committees may look like, I want you to take that into account. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, anybody else? Okay, all those in, we're looking at number 1 and 2 then. So all those in favour? Against? Thank you, Councillor. Okay, item 4 notes the recruitment process for an independent chair for the Risk and Audit Committee commenced prior to the 2025 local elections, following a resolution passed by the council on the 16th of April. Councillor Reddy.
I'll move.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? No. Okay, all those in favour? Against? Thank you, that's unanimous. Okay, item 5, appoints councillor as interim chair of the Risk and Audit Committee until the independent chair is formally appointed. Councillor Reddy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to nominate Councillor Dave Pinkston, please.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder for that? I have 3 seconders. What's the process?
Just choose the first one you said.
Okay. Councillor O'Keefe. Thank you. Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item number 6, appoints the mayor, deputy mayor and one other councillor as a panel to shortlist and interview the candidates for the independent chair position. Okay, councillor Reedy.
I'd like to nominate councillor Dave Hingston once again, because he's acting in the capacity as acting chair, and he will provide some good quality independence for the recruitment process.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Reynolds. Okay, is there any further discussion? Thank you. Okay, I should have asked that, shouldn't I? Okay, all those in favour? Those against? Thank you, that's passed unanimously. Okay, number 7 notes that once the panel review is completed, a report will be presented to full council to make the appointment of the independent chair. Okay, do we have a councillor Barry, councillor Reedy? Is there any discussion? All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 8 notes that under the 25th of June 2025 resolution, the 11 reserves and halls committees and the Creative Communities Committee were not discharged following the 2025 triennial election, and 9 confirms that these subcommittees will report to the Risk and Audit Committee for the 2025 year. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I'm so councillor Reedy moved. Councillor, I think you have your hand up. Councillor Hingston has seconded. Okay, we'll open that up. You're making the same suggestion as you did for the. You have to help me out. So you're talking, correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about adding the same.
Yeah.
So
That's fine,
yes.
yeah.
So that'll be the new resolution.
So that would read, confirms that these subcommittees will report to the Risk and Audit Committee for 2025 to 2028 triennium, noting that these may change at the November council meeting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, councillor Reynolds.
Just wanting some clarification there, noting that they were not discharged following the 25 election. Why was that? Is that abnormal? Is it normal? Does the new council normally make these appointments? But so just some clarification as to what is.
Good question, councillor. We had a paper that came to the previous councillors last triennium. Reserve and Hall subcommittees have got lots of business that needs to be continued on. A few councillors around the table can attest to that. It can be quite disruptive discharging all the committees and subcommittees and then having them reappointed later on in the year, and then a further meeting to be held to then appoint the members to the committee and subcommittees and then have them ratify that in their meetings. So it can cause a 3 to 4 month delay. And for our community members who volunteer as part of those subcommittees, it's very disruptive and it undermines a lot of the great work and mahi that they're doing in the community. So the previous council did adopt a few months ago to hold those subcommittees in place for the new triennium. And that's for discussion at committees if you wish to, but we will have a briefing session around what the subcommittees are, what they do, who they're made up of, to give you a little bit more information. But that was the previous council's decision to do that. And it was at a few of the councillors' requests that that paper specifically got brought forward. It isn't usual practice, but there is provision within the Local Government Act for us to do it. And councillors exercised their right to do that in the last triennium.
Councillor Barry.
Just as chair of the Cutters Beach Reserve Subcommittee, it was more like 6 months because we are we were disbanded in October and we actually didn't have a formal meeting until March, and it does inhibit what we can achieve in those times. So I totally agree with this being put forward. It's too disruptive.
Councillor Reedy.
Mr. Mayor, someone else is still on. Paul. The Local Government Act does allow for subcommittees to be carried forward. That doesn't mean to say they are carried forward right through for the whole triennium. We have the right to, once we get settled in, to do whatever we want to do in terms of the subcommittees. The idea is to maintain momentum, if you like. That's allowed for in the LGA. We've followed that so that, as has been noted there, we don't wait 6 months or whatever to go through the whole process again. So take your point there, Paul. It's a, if you like, a stopgap to maintain momentum or to prevent any pauses. And as I say, it's of great interest, Mr. Mayor, the community groups, the reserve groups and what have you. And that will be taking up a lot of time at some stage during the meeting, at a future meeting, which I support.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so I think, have we got a mover for that? Councillor Reedy. Okay. Seconder. After, yeah, we probably did. Issue.
Through the chair, did we not have, I've written down that we had movers for 8 and 9 with the addition of the referral to November, and it was Councillor Reedy and Councillor Hinkson?
We did, yeah, thank you. Okay, so all those in favour? Sorry, Councillor Reedy.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm a bit lost. We're doing 8 and 9 together.
Yes.
I don't believe. No, okay. I'd rather them be by themselves, please.
I'm sorry.
I'd rather them be called 8 and 9 individually. I don't agree that we are that they report to the Risk and Audit Committee. As of now, we've just said before that it's you know, it's not their role, and yet here we're going to say yes, we will continue with that, and I'm definitely going to be against it. Thanks. I appreciate there will be another comment card, another resolution coming through, number 10, but can we please move them separately?
Okay, so we'll look at number 8, and we'll do number 9 separately. So number 8, all those in favour? Against? Thank you, that's unanimous. Okay, so we'll move on to number 9. Confirms that 3 subcommittees will report to the Risk and Audit Committee for the 25-28 triennium. Oh, sorry, Dave. Sure.
It says all the training and you realise the whole.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'll be voting against it in terms of the fact it's an interim measure and not a training measure. So I think that's what.
Thank you. Councillor Hinkson.
It was a surprise actually that we're doing 8 and 9 together earlier. And so I agree with.
Sorry, Dave. Could you
Sorry, I agree with separating.
Okay.
We're good. All right. And I agree that we should separate them because I think the way it's written sends the wrong message, that one there. And I don't mind adopting it as an interim measure until we get the other committees sorted, but I object to that wording as it stands.
Okay. I think Simon, over to you.
Through the chair, if you wish to move an amendment that would give you better wording and give you more comfort, then that's open to you.
Thank you. If we could amend it to reflect that it's an interim measure until such time as we've confirmed the other subject.
Okay, Councillor Curnow.
Look, just in the cause of clarity,
perhaps a procedural motion, which I'm prepared to move, that recommendation 9 just lie on the table until the November meeting, so we're not voting either for or against it. Seems no reason why we need to make the decision now. So either way.
Some governance over it until we've got it sorted out. So I think we should have something over it, and we may as well continue with that something being the Risk and Audit Committee until we've got a better alternative.
Yeah. Councillor O'Keefe.
Caitlin, could you please read out the amended 0.9? So was there an amendment to that with triennium taken out?
So
Yeah.
confirms that these subcommittees will report to the Risk and Audit Committee, noting that this is an interim measure until the final committee structure is appointed by council.
Yep. Councillor Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I do apologise, and I mean it. I know I'm going back to number 8, and I think Dave made mention about something, but it's just when he spoke, what we're saying in here is that the Reserves and Law Subcommittee will not be discharged following the 2025 triennium. That was never in that resolution 25 June 25. All it said was that we will continue. But what we're saying here is that we will not discharge this these committees during the triennial following the elections. That wasn't the intention, and I do apologise. I've just picked that up. We do intend looking at this at some stage, and someone can come back and say, "Well, we all agreed on 8 that we would not discharge them." There just seems to be a procedural issue here for me, and I do apologise, Mr.
Simon. It's already been passed. It's not been passed already. No result. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we move on to 9. Thank you. Okay, so we're back at number 9. Taking into account the points that have been made. Would you like to read that out again? Sure.
Confirms that these subcommittees will report to the Risk and Audit Committee, noting that this is an interim measure until the final committee structure is appointed by council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, moved by Dave, Councillor Langston, seconded by Councillor O'Keefe. Okay, all those in back to the vote discussion. Councillor Reedy.
Apologies, there. I thought we were just going to forgot about the discussion. I was going to vote.
Okay, right, all those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously, thank you. Okay, we're on to the adoption of the 2025 calendar. The recommendation being that we adopt the meeting schedule for the remainder of 2025 as outlined in the agenda, attachment 1. Open that for discussion.
Please comment before we do.
Yes, you can.
Through the chair. Yep, so jump in the gun before. So you'll note we suggested an earlier start time for council, and I appreciate that this is different than we've done before. But just in terms of what other councils do and best practice in terms of decision making. But we're also acknowledging the huge workload that you do have, especially new councillors coming on board, and particularly in the next 100 days, that the workload is significant in terms of bringing those briefings, bringing councillors up to speed of those briefings. So this is a suggestion that we wanted to put to you, but it's obviously up to the table to decide what works collectively. From the staff point of view, we can be flexible, noting that we do want to provide you with the best advice that we can and have the staff available. So the challenge for us is that we do have some staff that have childcare duties as well. So there's always that tension. So we want to make sure staff are available for you, and that becomes more problematic in the evenings. But it's just one of the things we will have to juggle, whatever the table resolves. Is there anything else, Chrissy, you want to add at this point?
Thank you. Just through the chair. So this is following best advice through meeting and governance solutions. So they deal with central government agencies, and there's a number of councils that have moved to an earlier meeting time. But I do know, and we did seek some feedback around the table prior to this going up around what would work best. I know a pain point from our previous council was, especially with the long-term plan workshops at the last training, it got heavy with meetings every single week, afternoons every single week, which impacts on people's workload, especially when people are still working. So the idea would be, although the next couple of months are going to be particularly heavy with induction, and we understand that with the briefing sessions, that's an additional, but the intention is for the new year for there to be 2 Wednesdays a month that we would hold council meetings or committee meetings and workshops, to consolidate it into 2 days a month rather than 4 half days. We do try to keep it to the Wednesday where possible. It makes it easier for people to plan, acknowledging those that are still working, and the pain points around there that continues. So this is just a consideration, and we're open to feedback and amending the schedule as needed.
Okay, councillor Webb.
Question. So did any of the staff before preparing this report actually interview any of the previous councillors over the last few trienniums to get their feedback before presenting a draft recommendation like this? So to be clear, any rural councillors that are in the Inangahua and Seddon, and any councillors that are undertaking any full-time or part-time work?
So formal interviews, probably not, but it was just based on that anecdotal feedback. But again, this is just a proposal for a discussion. So it's really up to the table.
Councillor Reedy.
Mr. Mayor, comment was made about, workload and what have you, and so we start at 9 o'clock, just talking at the moment, 9 o'clock, then we might have a workshop in the afternoon. But yet the purpose, as has been recorded in the minutes and the agenda item, of it, if we, you're a lot more fresher in the morning than you are in the afternoon. But then we contradict ourselves by saying, but then we could have workshops in the afternoon, as opposed to a meeting in the afternoon. I'm at a loss. To me, it's a contradiction in terms, and I just want to ask management why they seem to think we'll be fresh in the afternoon for workshops. We're not fresh for council meetings, please. That's a question.
Through the chair, I guess, so the way that the way that the logic works is that in terms of your decision making, your processing, and it will be different for everybody, acknowledging that that's when people make their best decisions in the morning when they're fresh. But acknowledging that this is just something which will be a compromise. We've said 9 o'clock, it could be 10 o'clock, it could be 11. But it's something in terms of your decision making, and bearing in mind you don't make decisions at workshops. Workshops are a different kind of beast, hence the logic. But I'm acknowledging that this isn't perfect and this isn't set in stone. This is for the table to decide. We had to put something up, and we thought we'd propose something that was different, but it needs to meet your needs, as well as the community we serve.
Thank you, Simon. Councillor Aki.
Question, I suppose the question is for the people that do have work commitments, what would be a good compromise? Would it be workshops from 9? If they're going to double it up, it means because there's no decisions in workshops, they can just be filmed and passed on, and maybe 1 or 2 o'clock start, or what would suit?
Councillor Barry.
As someone that works, I would rather do 2 full days in a month, and doing 4 half days is not great for me, and it's not great for my employer. So 2 full days would be better. I don't care whether it's workshops in the morning or meetings in the morning, but it's better. I just looking at the calendar going forward with the briefings, the tentative dates for briefings, it's totally unachievable for someone who works. I have talked to Chrissy about it, and she said that there will be opportunities to maybe record those briefings so that you can read it outside of working hours. I think that what we decide here, we need to be really careful, because what you don't want to do is to make your council meetings unachievable for people who work, because then what you get is similar people, a lack of diversity in your council. So I appreciate you guys bringing this for discussion, and I think it is a really important discussion. I think Ray, you work at the moment as well, don't you?
And you took the words out of my mouth, Shane. I don't even need to speak then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hinkson.
Yeah, so being self-employed, you know, I plan to bring my A game, whether it's morning or afternoon. So, but I defer to those that can't attend due to timing. So I don't really agree with the argument about A game or not in the morning or the afternoon. I think that's secondary to, if the councillors can't attend in the morning, then we should look for a time they can attend. That should be the overriding factor for consideration. Otherwise, we miss out on the diversity and points of view.
Thank you, Councillor Hawes.
Well, some questions, but since I read this, but I'll also the question. My question is that, well, my background, my question. Sorry, hit this button in case that makes a difference. My background in this question is, why is this decision here for the first council to make that decision around what the meeting schedule looks like, etc. And my understanding has always been that there is part of the democratic process that enables people to participate in democracy, to be representative of their community. And so the question lies around then, to me, is how do we make that representation able to attend here? And the only logical answer to that is that, you know, the least able person has to try to be accommodated there. If we're all capable, it's not the people that can make any time. And now, luckily, I'm in that position. I wasn't for 15 years. I worked and attended council meeting at a considerable cost and effort to myself and the family and everything else. So I can quite sympathise with that. And I also hear the argument around social economics. And of course, if somebody's on a very low income and full-time job, they can't afford to take large-scale time out. This is only very much a part-time recompensed role as a Buller District Councillor. This is no way like being on Christchurch City Council. And so therefore, those lowest socioeconomic people need to be encouraged to participate, because after all, the majority of our district fits into that category. So, you know, I've always understood in 15 years on council that this was a decision made by the council law to be able to facilitate council laws to be able to function.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Reddy.
Mr. Mayor, question. We're talking about it's now best practice. We're moving to 9 AM in the morning. I haven't got it written down, unfortunately, but my understanding is Grey and Westland commence their meetings at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I don't want to get into discussion at the moment. I'm just asking the question, is that correct?
Yeah, I suspect it probably is correct. Yeah, I mean, there'll be a whole range. My previous council used to start at 4:30 in the afternoon. So Dunedin used to start at 1. So there's a whole range, but not every council is the same. And acknowledging the points around the table, each will have its own needs, and that's what you need to resolve collectively.
Thank you. Councillor Webb.
Yeah, just touching on what Dave was saying too, like you've got to take into consideration of the Inangahua and the Seddon wards that we also have a 2-hour travel time that we are not remunerated for. So therefore that eats into our ability to work for 2 hours of the day anyway. Looking at the term that my father served for 30 years, if meetings were starting at 9 AM, there's no way that he would have been able to serve being a dairy farmer. A lot of our wards in the Seddon and the Inangahua, there's a lot of farming. It's a huge farming community, and there is no way that they would be at financially strain and that be able to be in Westport 9 a.m. Like absolutely no way. And this for me is absolutely no way I can come to a meeting at 9 a.m. Already in our council calendar that was added today, there is 13 full days that the council staff are looking that we take out of our working day. 14, one's a half, so nearly 14 days in the next 9 weeks that you're already asking for us to take out of our time. And 6 of those days are not actually Wednesdays. So when I ran for council again and decided to put my name forward, there was no discussions last triennium about changing the meeting times and that, no indication. So people have run in good faith that, you know, the status quo, or roundabout, the status quo would actually continue. And now I'm faced with the dilemma that 14 days of full days, taking leave without pay, huge thing. And to get here by 9 a.m. being somebody that lives an hour away is just absolutely unachievable. The idea of swapping the format that meetings are first, then workshops. Like for me, meetings being later in the day, workshops, like Shane said, that they can be recorded. There's no decisions made. Briefings, they can be recorded. If they're at 9 a.m, we can choose whether to attend in person or catch up later. But I'm in huge favour of a bit like Grey District Council and Westland, like, and Tanya Gibson was quoted in the national media the other day talking about how they encourage making sure working people and that can actually run for council. So having the council meetings later in the day, we've historically had them last triennium at 3:30. I'm open to flexible, but the other thing is that we agreed last triennium that we would have at least one free Wednesday a month. That probably happened 1 or 2 months a year. So the idea that council, you know, you're going to keep 2 Wednesday a month free is, in my idea, unachievable, because that has never ever happened. And what happens is it creeps in. Already today I get an email saying I had a free Wednesday next week. Council within a week, 1 week's notice, has now scheduled a 9 a.m. briefing. And the same with the induction. We got an email 1 week and 1 day to say that the following Thursday and Friday would be 2 full days in induction. So like, you've got to be, if we're talking about being professional and treated like professionals, we actually need to be A, paid like professionals, but that's not going to happen, but B, actually thinking about notice and how we schedule and how much notice we actually get for these dates, because it's very hard to plan 1 week out to say, oh, you've got to take the full day off. So I would be in favour of keeping the meetings, council full meetings or RACs and that in the afternoon. If you're going to schedule in any workshops, build it up that way, and therefore working people can make the choice whether they attend in person or they watch the recordings.
Thank you. Councillor Barry.
Just conscious as well that in previous agendas we've talked about additional committees.
Yeah.
So you know, that's something else that we are now looking next month at, having additional committees. When I was on council last time, committee meetings were after work hours, and so I think this is a bigger discussion, and I'm not sure that we're going to get there today, but maybe we will.
Okay. Have you got any comments on this?
Through the chair, I mean, Councillor Barry makes the point that this will change again once committee structure is being proposed. So we need something in place in order to get our it's Chrissy on it.
Just through the chair. So the motion on the table is just about the meeting schedule for the remainder of the year. So that's just having a look at the meeting. So that's ICB, RAC and council as is. So I understand that the induction process and the briefing sessions have fallen outside of that. They are informal, and as much as we'd like you to come to them, if you're not able to make it, it's understandable. But the motion in front of you now is to discuss the council meetings the Inangahua Community Board and the first RAC. So when we come to you next month with we could leave as is, including start times, keeping it at 3:30. If there are workshops, as Councillor Webb says, we can work backwards. And then next month we can give some more thought and get some more feedback on start times and what that might look like when we've got more of an idea as to what the committee structure could look like. And if it was possible to keep it 2 days a month, and they were full days, if that would work in, but we will gather feedback to add into the report for next month.
Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'm in the luxurious position that Dave's in. You know, I can come anytime, night or day. And in fact, if you chose a 6 p.m. start time, I'd just go to bed in the afternoon and I'll be fresh for days. That's unlikely, I accept that. I just do want to stress at this point that we really value our staff and we do understand what our CEO's indicated about commitments. But at the end of the day, this is about governance. This is about what suits councillors at this table. Primarily, that's our number one objective, is to find a timing that suits our ability to deliver democracy on behalf of our community. So I'm happy to, to fit in with any arrangement that looks like it suits the majority of those people who are at this table. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay. Would somebody like to move that we accept for an amendment? Councillor Webb.
I move that we keep the status quo, that we have council start time at 3:30 p.m. and risk and audit at 3:30 p.m. And once we get the new committee structure, revisit it once we actually know how many committees we are and the frequency, and then building on. But I do want to reiterate, to have the meetings that end and build,
Okay. Any discussion, debate? Councillor Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, in terms of discussion, I'm free anytime because I'm retired, but I do take on board those who are working. And I also take on board that Buller, well, in fact, the whole of the West Coast is predominantly farming, which is why councils have opted for a 1 p.m. start. Why we went for a 3:30 start. I understand previous terms have been at other times. I don't know. We're talking about now, and I believe 9 o'clock is not suitable for some of the elected members, especially those who have got farming commitments. I would suggest perhaps even a 1 o'clock might suit because people can at least do the work in the morning. Travel. Remember, we've got travel for 4 people, and 1, maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Just bring it forward a little bit, but I don't agree with a 9 o'clock start.
Thank you, Councillor Keith.
Okay, I would like to move that.
She's already moved.
Remove it. I'm a second. I didn't quite understand if got the resolution correct yet on that. What was
I'll
the
just clarify my move. I'm moving that council time starts at 3:30, risk and audit starts at 3:30, the Inangahua board starts at 5 p.m. and we'll revisit it at another meeting.
Okay, second by Councillor Keith.
Already been seconded.
Oh, okay. I'll catch up with you, Councillor Barron.
So now I need some clarification. If we're starting at 3:30, what are we still looking at having workshops before 3:30, after 3:30, and starting at 3:30? This is a question to Chrissy or Simon. Will that still enable us to maybe look at 2 full days a week with other options around that? Is that still possible?
Thank you for your question, Councillor. What we'll do is we'll mock up a couple of options for you for next month once we've got more of an indication as to what that looks like at the moment. With the motion on the table at the 3:30 start time. Previously, workshops have started before that, so 1 o'clock if we needed a workshop to allow for a short break before we go into the council or committee meeting at 3:30. And if there's anything else burning on the agenda or something else that needed to be discussed, again, it could be worked backwards from there. But for the majority of the time, we did try and keep to a 1 o'clock workshop and 3:30. So council meetings and committee meetings can run for quite some time. So occasionally it was at the time where we would be running till 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock sometimes at night with our council meetings. And there may have been a 2-hour, 3-hour workshop beforehand when we were dealing with the long-term plan and going through all of those. So it does make for a long day, especially for those that have been working in the morning as well. So happy to put some options together and get some feedback. So we definitely have the status quo at 3:30 and work backwards, and then we'd have a look at another option with some feedback.
Thank you. Councillor.
Just in reply to that, and also replying to Colin's suggestion that a 1 o'clock start, whether I would like to have the flexibility to have a meeting at 1 o'clock and then workshops, but I'm understanding that it needs to work in with our travelling councillors. So some options would be good. So then we could have some discussion around it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, we have a motion from Councillor Webb on the table, seconded by Councillor O'Keefe. Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favour? Against? Okay, pass unanimously. Thank you. Okay, that brings us, where are we? Okay, thank you, Simon. That brings us to the CEO report. Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations to those who spot the deliberate mistake, sorry. There are actually 2 7 ward councillors, not 1. How did I miss that? I'm sorry. I mean, the purpose of this report is to, I produce a CEO report on my each council meeting. This is a little bit different. My usual CEO report is an environmental scan of legislative change and an update councillors on the things that I've been doing in terms of networking of interest to council, and also we give an operational update, particularly in the regulatory space. This report is a little bit different in that it is meant to give you, I suppose, a bit of an additional overview of your role as a councillor, the role of the mayor, how we work together as a collective body. So it's all pretty self-explanatory, I hope. But yeah, happy to answer any questions that you may have, but apologies for that error. Oh, look at that.
I think Councillor Rutherford had it by a nose.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. Yeah, look, I take quite a bit of interest in your reports at the end of every meeting. I've got to say, you know, looking ahead, I would hope that they'll include a little bit of information for us about what's going on in Brougham House. That used to be the case. You know, we don't get down there. You know, many of us won't even know who the staff are other than our senior leadership team. Just saying that. But really, particularly, I want to ask you if you would care to amend number 35.
Noting that, so we can note it in the minutes. Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, apologies. Look, Sarah. Well,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
yes.
Thank you. Councillor Curnow.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. My question really is in relation to number 10 around the wellbeings. Just some commentary from you. I understand that there's a legislation before Parliament. I'm not sure where it's at exactly, removing the wellbeings from the appropriate legislation. Can you give us an update there?
So the proposal is to remove the wellbeings from the LGA. However, I think the discussion that this council had the previous triennium was to retain those as part of its decision making, and many other councils have done the same. The government is drawing a direct line between the inclusion of those wellbeings and expenditure by councils, but as you'll have seen in that presentation we did as part of our induction, that's not the core driver of increased costs to councils. So that's why currently they're in there. This government will remove them, but I think in terms of your decision making, it's a good lens to run over.
Thank you. Councillor Barry.
Just a question, Simon, around our iwi representation. It's not mentioned in here, and I guess I just want some clarification or some confidence that we will have representation going forward.
So we, through the chair, we have our MOU with Ngāti Waewae, and obviously we have apologies today from Francois, who would really like to have been here. I think we, each training, we will review that MOU, and we do obviously have our meeting on the marae in 2 weeks' time, and I think that will be a good discussion to have. So as part of this table needs to resolve, obviously that ongoing relationship. It would be good, I think, to have that discussion, but that will come back at a future meeting, probably in November, I suspect. Again, so a lot to discuss in November, but I have to say, Ngāti Waewae, talking to Francois, they are very, very keen to retain that good relationship they've had. And from a staff point of view, it is invaluable in terms of helping us move forward in so many different operational areas. Yeah. Thank you.
I just had one more question, and it was around local water done well. So next month we're having a discussion around committees, and we will need representation, I presume, from a couple of councillors on local water done well. Have we got any indication of the time required with that role?
Through the chair. Thank you, Councillor Barry. Do you mean in terms of timing as to how long will be expected to be worked on, or timing in terms of when decisions are due to be made?
Time, like councillors' time, really, what commitment is going to be needed so that when we are working other things on.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I spoke with Chrissy yesterday just around this. Local water done well, we're proposing to put a little bit of a committee structure in place for that. And we expect that in terms of timing, the legislation states that prior to April, there has to be an establishment chair or an establishment board started. That process has to be underway. We've committed as part of the water service delivery plan that will be the case. So my expectation is that up until April, there'll be quite a significant amount of work. I would say a few hours a week probably, or a few hours every couple of weeks. But certainly until we understand what is expected of that shareholders representative forum, I can't give you an exact amount of time, but I would imagine that given the magnitude of the things that we're dealing with, quite a bit of time will be expected. If I give you an example, in the previous triennium, we had the infrastructure leads who were essentially at that point the people that would, or the elected members who would support in that place. We had at least 3 hours with them every 2 weeks. So that was 6 hours, 6 hours a month. And I would imagine it'd be something similar. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, thanks again. Look, I'm also aware, and this is a timing thing here, that the Westport Joint Committee have indicated that they want to hold a workshop in November to bring the new committee, whatever it looks like, up to speed with what's going on, with a view to enabling them to make a decision before the end of this year in regard to will they propose to have a wider rating district. My understanding from watching that committee meeting, and I know Councillor Reedy was there, is that there'd be some expectation that that committee be formed or signed sometime during November, probably before our next committee meeting. So any comment on that?
Yes. So that committee needs representation from council. So that will come to the November meeting. So we just need to look at the timing of that meeting with the joint committee. I'm not sure of the date of that. You have to know, councillor? Yeah, we may have to move that. So, but I'll be working with Darryl Liu from regional around that, and we'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Reynolds.
Just on the report in general, as a new councillor in the new council in its first meeting of the triennium, I expected the report to be more of a state of the nation. So to inform us, give us some knowledge so we can move forward and do our role. So the motion that the Chief Executive's report be received, I'd like to add an amendment to it. That the Chief Executive be requested to provide to Council within 10 working days a comprehensive written report outlining the current financial position, major risks, outstanding audit matters, and any other issues that may materially affect the governance or operations of the Buller District Council. With a second, I'd like to speak to it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are you moving a motion?
I move there was an amendment to the motion that would be informed.
Okay, if we can take some advice on that, please. Second. If you give us just a minute, Kevin's.
Point of order, I don't believe we have a second to that motion, and therefore the motion really is inactive. So
I am prepared to second the motion for the purposes of discussion. I would like to hear this too. I would like to hear Councillor Reynolds have the opportunity to speak to it.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I appreciate what Councillor Reynolds is concerned about. However, I think it's an unreasonable request at this point in time. This information will flow through to us. Much of it's already available from previous council agendas and minutes. Specific questions that any councillor may have, I'm sure, will be addressed in the future. As I say, understand Councillor Reynolds' desire for this information, but I think that request of his to produce all that information in 10 days' time is an unreasonable request, and I will not be supporting the motion.
Yeah, I agree with Phil. I mean, I agree with the sentiment of accountability and getting a more complete report from the CEO. I don't agree that 10 days is reasonable, and I'm not sure that we can get all of that information accurately in a timely fashion. What I would suggest is that the CEO, when able, produces a more comprehensive report that details the issues that
So I guess, so you've seen my previous CEO reports in terms of their depth. The purpose of those reports are to give you a sense of the operational, but I think the things that Councillor Reynolds is referring to, but those will be, some of those will come through the RAP meeting, some of those will be council, some of those you're already getting a sense of those through the induction. But it's really, it needs to be delivered to you in a way which is timely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now that I've heard Chief Executive's explanation, I am satisfied that we have a way forward. I'll withdraw my second.
The intent was to make sure that we just don't have any nasty surprises in the future, and that we're in a rather large debt hole, and the means of getting out of it appears to be inoperative at the moment. So it's just, if there's any information that is out there that we need to be informed, so that we can do our governance role. Without information, we're weak. Knowledge makes us stronger, the lack of it makes us weaker. So it was really just to, are there any key issues out there that need our knowledge immediately? I'm not opposing the procedural report itself. I just believe that councillors can't fulfil their governance responsibilities unless they're properly and fully informed. So if there's any surprises out there, we should hear them as soon as possible. We haven't had an annual report in 2 years. We haven't had audited accounts in 2 years. At the end of this month, it will become 3 years. This is extraordinary. This council must get point of order.
I understand where Paul's coming from. I appreciate that. But this isn't the time. We've got an inaugural meeting at the moment. We have a specific agenda to go through, to work through. We are scheduled for a full council meeting in November, where a lot of these things that are being raised by Paul at the moment can be discussed. Some of the other issues that we have in terms of that relate to RAP can also be discussed at that time. There is little point talking now about not having 2 or 3 signed audited reports. They are to be, that's not part of the inaugural meeting as far as I'm concerned. We know these are there. There are other issues as well that need to be raised. Let us get today out of the way so we can then focus moving forward as a team for November, and then the 2 meetings prior to Christmas in December, please, Mr. Mayor. And hopefully, if I can just say, there's no meeting on in January. It's been the norm in the past. As we know, New Zealand goes into holiday mode and doesn't come out until about the 1st of February. I'm just putting that on the table.
I just want to acknowledge as well that in our 2 induction days last week, council staff were very open and frank with us through those, and we're very aware there are some big challenges going ahead. So I do appreciate what you're saying, Paul, as well. But I think the process of going through our committee structure next month will help with that information coming forward and us being able to assimilate that information by not being overwhelmed by a huge RIC meeting for a start. So, you know, I'm really
Chair, can you please give us some direction now, please? So that motion was withdrawn or lost, or what's the story?
Could I move that the CE report from Simon Pickford that we receive it with no amendments?